friends, in the part 1 of the TMD series, we have spoken about derangements of condyle disc complex. Now in part 2, we will be talking about structural incompatibilities of articular surfaces. So let's begin. Okay, so before we move on with structural incompatibilities of articular surfaces, first let's talk about what we learned in disc displacement or derangements of condyle disc complex. So we understood that because inferior retrodiscal lamina and discal ligaments had become elongated, correct, and because of superior lateral pterygoid muscles anterior pull, the articular disc was positioned anterior, correct, and condyle was resting on the posterior border of this articular disc. Because of this, the articular disc started thinning at the posterior border, correct, and slowly steadily, because the ligament as well as the retrodiscal lamina reached its highest elongation position, okay, and the posterior border of the articular disc also had thinned out, the disc started popping out of the condyle completely. Understood? Now because this thing has happened, the structural incompatibilities of the articular surfaces started occurring. So if you ask why, then it's because the articular disc, when it just came out or popped out of its discal space, okay, it just came and it started restricting the condyle, okay, and the articular disc was the one, or was a soft tissue which was basically preventing the direct friction of this both articular surfaces, which were mandibular fossa and the condyle, correct. Now since the articular surfaces are coming directly in contact, there are going to be lot of incompatibilities between them, okay. So the main cause is the derangement disorder, and we understood how it occurred, which resulted when normally smooth sliding surface was altered, that friction and sticking inhibited normal joint movements, okay. So the common cause was macrotrauma, okay. Other than that, now let's learn that there are 4 types of structural incompatibilities of articular surface. First is deviation, then it's adhesion, then it's subluxation, and then it's spontaneous dislocation. Let's come to the first structural incompatibility, that is deviation in form. So deviation in form is caused by actual changes in the shape of articular surfaces. Okay, now they can occur in condyle and or disc. An alteration in any form of bony surface may be a flattening of condyle or fossa, okay, or formation of bony protuberance in the condyle, and in changes in form of disc include both thinning of the borders as well as perforation, okay, will result in deviation. Now it is a long term dysfunction that is present and may not be a painful condition. Patient has learned a pattern so that the mandibular movements are made such that it avoids deviation in form and therefore avoids painful symptoms. Like when what happened in disc displacement with reduction, the patient who had started moving the mandible in such a way that the disc was getting recaptured, correct. So in the similar way here, what has happened is the patient has learned a pattern of mandibular movement that avoids the deviation, so painful symptoms are avoided according to him, okay. And the clinical feature of this deviation in form is dysfunction at a particular point of movement. So when your mouth, if your patient is opening the mouth slowly, it will be deviated at a particular point, and it will again come back to its original line of movement, okay. So during opening, the dysfunction is observed at the same degree of mandibular separation as during closing. So with a displaced disc, changing the speed and force of opening can alter the interincisal distance of the click. Okay, and the treatment basically involves surgical procedure. All right, we have understood what is deviation. Let's learn about adherence or adhesion. So basically what is adhesion? It is sticking, correct? So adherence represents a temporary sticking of articular surfaces, and it may occur between condyle and disc, okay, or between disc and the fossa. Now it results from prolonged static loading of the joint surfaces. Okay, so adhesion may also arise from loss of effective lubrication secondary to perfusion injury. Understood? And history is usually the patient will report a long period when a jaw was statistically loaded, such as clenching during the sleep. Okay, the period was followed by sensation of limited mouth opening. Understood? He felt like it was stuck somewhere, and as the patient tried to open the mouth with a single click, okay, the normal range of movement was immediately achieved. Alright, now adherence occurs because static loading of the joint exhausts whipping lubrication. We all know what is whipping lubrication. Understood? There is a synovial fluid which is absorbed in slight quantity by both the articulating surfaces when in the force or when there is a pressure which is applied on them. So when there is a clenching which is occurring for a long time, the whipping lubrication gets over, which results in sticking of these joints. Okay, and this patients typically will report in the morning they have stiffness in the jaw, and when they try to open their mouth, they'll hear a click or there is a pop at once, and the normal movements are restored. So that is nothing but your adhesion. Okay, when adhesion permanently fixes the articular surface, patient complains of reduced functions usually associated with limited mouth opening. Okay, these symptoms are constant and repeatable. Pain may or may not be present. If pain is present, it's normally associated with attempts to open the mouth. So when it was temporarily sticking, the patient was able to bring it back, okay, with a single click. So when it started sticking permanently, patient started experiencing limited mouth opening. Okay, and pain may or may not be present. If it is present, it is present when patient tries to open the mouth. Okay, the clinical characteristics of this condition is when adherence or adhesion occurs between the disc and fossa, normal translations of condyle disc complex are inhibited. Okay, the patient is present with mandibular opening only of 25 to 30 millimeters. Okay, and it is similar to finding of disc dislocation without reduction, as I told you earlier. Okay, so when the condyle is forward, it would appear as if the disc is posteriorly dislocated. In reality, condition is better described as a fixed disc. Okay, and a chronic fixed disc is characterized by relative normal opening movement with little or no restriction, but during closing, the patient senses an inability to get the teeth back in occlusion. And treatment, basically it requires stabilization appliances so that the articular disc can come back into its can be repositioned, okay, at to a certain level. Understood? Okay, now let's understand what is subluxation, also known as hypermobility. So basically, if the patient appears with subluxation, just ask the patient to open the mouth wide, and you'll see the TMJ has just, condyle has just popped out of the mandibular fossa. That is basically a subluxation. Okay, so subluxation of TMJ represents a sudden forward movement of the condyle during the later phase of mouth opening. That is, when the patient opens the mouth wide, the subluxation will occur. As the condyle moves beyond the crest of eminence, it appears to jump forward to wide open position. Understood? Now, why this is caused? So, what happens is the TMJ, whose articular eminence is stiff, short, posterior slope is followed by longer anterior slope that is often more superior than the crest, tends to subluxate. Okay, Otherwise, a condyle will get stuck at the articular eminence. But here the eminence is stiff, short. Posterior slope followed by longer anterior slope is present, okay, which results in subluxation. This occurs because of stiff eminence requires a great deal of rotational movement of the disc on condyle as the condyle translates out of the fossa. Okay, and because the disc cannot rotate any further posteriorly, the remaining condyle translation occurs in form of anterior movement of the condyle and disc as a unit. Okay, and this represents a sudden forward jump of the condyle and disc to the maximum translated position. So if you ask the patient just to open the mouth, it will just sublux it. Okay, if you ask the patient for history, the patient will tell you that whenever he tries or he or she tries to open the mouth wide, the jaw just goes out. Okay, some patients also report clicking, but when observed clinically, the click is not similar to what is there in disc displacement. Okay, and is often the joint sound is third instead of the click which is heard in disc displacements. Okay, if you ask the clinical characteristics, you can just request the patient to open the mouth wide and you'll see the subluxation. In the later stages of opening, the condyle will jump forward, leaving a small depression in the face behind it. Okay, and the lateral pole of the condyle can be felt or observed during the movement, and the midline pathway of mandibular opening will be seen deviated and written as the condyle moves over the eminence. Alright, and the treatment required for this condition is basically surgical. Now that we have spoken about the deviation, adhesion and subluxation, let's speak about the spontaneous dislocation. Now in subluxation we understood that the condyle just pops out of the mandibular fossa, correct? But it again can go back. But in spontaneous dislocation, what happens is there is open lock. That is, once the condyle just pops out, it cannot undergo translation again, and patient is unable to close the mouth. Okay, and that is why it's clinically referred to as an open lock. So spontaneous dislocation represents a hyperextension of TMJ, resulting in condition that fixes the joint in open position and prevents its translation. Okay, so if you ask the patient history, he'll say that with wide open mouth procedures such as long dental appointment, it may be followed by an extended yawn. The patient just says that the jaw has opened, now it's not closing. Okay, and it's often associated with pain because of dislocation, and it also causes lot of distress to the patient. Okay, so if you see the clinical characteristics, spontaneous dislocation is very easy to diagnose because it is sudden and the patient's jaw is locked, mouth remains wide open and is unable to close. Clinically, anterior teeth are usually separated with posterior teeth closed. Okay, so treatment is increasing disc space joint by manipulation. Understood? So with that we have spoken about the structural incompatibilities of articular surfaces. Thank you. Thank you. Please like, share, subscribe, and if you want any other topics, do let me know in the comment box below. Thank you.